The day AI stopped feeling like a tool, there was a time when artificial intelligence felt harmless. It felt distant. It felt like a toy for tech people, a strange little machine that could write poems badly, answer questions halfway right, and generate weird pictures with hands that looked like melted candles. People laughed at it. They made memes about it. They used it to write fake love letters, make fantasy football names, and generate business ideas they were never actually going to start. At first, it was entertainment, then it became convenience, and then, almost overnight, it became something else entirely. It became competition. That was the moment everything changed, not when AI got smarter, not when the billionaires started talking about it on stages, not when companies started stuffing the letters A and I into every product they sold. No. The real shift happened the first time an ordinary person sat alone in a room, looked at a screen, and had a terrifying thought. What exactly is left for me? That question didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived quietly, in bedrooms, in coffee shops, in late-night scroll sessions, in offices with fluorescent lights humming above cubicles, in parked cars before work, in apartments where rent was due, in the minds of writers, editors, designers, marketers, coders, musicians, teachers, sales reps, and entrepreneurs. Because one by one, people started seeing it, a logo generated in seconds, an email sequence written in under a minute, a voice cloned, a video edited, a thumbnail created, a strategy outlined, a sales page drafted, a website built, a presentation assembled, a song imitated, a photo enhanced, a customer service role reduced, a freelancer replaced, a beginner suddenly made dangerous, a professional suddenly unsure, and for the first time, millions of people felt the same cold realization. This was no longer a tool you picked up. This was a force moving toward you. It felt like standing on a beach and noticing the water had pulled back too far. Everything looked calm, but something massive was on the way. The strange part was that AI didn't announce itself like an enemy. It arrived smiling, helpful, efficient, polite, fast. It said, "Let me save you time." And people said yes. Of course they said yes. Everyone was tired, everyone was overworked, everyone was behind. The modern world had already squeezed people dry long before AI entered the room. Attention spans were shattered. Costs were rising. Competition was everywhere. The internet had turned every field into a gladiator arena. It was not enough to be good anymore. You had to be faster, louder, smarter, more consistent, more visible, more optimized. And then AI appeared and whispered the most seductive promise of all. You don't have to do it alone anymore. That was the hook. Not destruction, relief. That is why it spread so fast, because it didn't feel like surrender, it felt like survival. The copywriter used it to brainstorm headlines, the realtor used it to draft listings, the student used it to organize notes, the entrepreneur used it to create content, the creator used it to title videos, the small business owner used it to write ad copy, the overwhelmed employee used it to summarize meetings, the tired founder used it to generate ideas at 2:13 in the morning when their brain had nothing left. And at first it really did feel magical. People who had been stuck for months started moving again. People who couldn't afford teams suddenly had the power of one. People with ideas but no technical skills suddenly had leverage. The gap between imagination and execution started shrinking. That was the beautiful part. A person with hunger, vision, and internet access could suddenly do things that once required money, staff, or years of technical learning. For dreamers, it was gasoline. For hustlers, it was acceleration. For underdogs, it looked like revenge. But every gift carries a shadow, because as more people gained power, something else happened. Everything started getting louder. The internet filled with more writing, more videos, more images, more pitches, more advice, more brands, more posts, more opinions, more automation, more noise. Content was no longer rare, effort was no longer visible, and when effort becomes invisible, value becomes harder to prove. That is where the fear came from. Not just that AI could create, but that the world might stop caring who created. That fear hit hardest among people whose identity was tied to their work. Writers wondered whether words still mattered if anyone could generate them. Designers wondered whether taste was enough when software could mock up 10 versions before coffee got cold. Developers wondered how long expertise would remain rare. Teachers wondered whether learning itself was being quietly hollowed out. Artists wondered what originality meant when style could be approximated on command. Creators wondered if audiences even wanted authenticity or if they just wanted stimulation. And ordinary workers, the ones without fancy job titles or giant followings, wondered something even simpler. Will there still be a place for me? That question hung over 2026 like a storm cloud, not because everyone lost their job overnight, but because uncertainty is its own kind of psychological earthquake. When people do not know what becomes valuable next, they panic. Some deny the change, some worship it, some rage against it, some pretend they are not scared, some become evangelists, some disappear, some adapt so fast they almost look inhuman, some freeze because they can feel history moving and they don't know where to put their feet. And beneath all of it was the real battle, not human versus machine, human versus irrelevance. That is the part nobody wants to say out loud, because irrelevance is a deeply human fear. It is older than technology, older than the internet, older than industry, older than electricity. Humans have always feared being replaced, forgotten, outpaced, outclassed, discarded. AI just gave that fear a face, a smooth one, a clean one, a voice in a box that never got tired. But here is where the story gets interesting. Because every era tells the same lie when disruption begins. It says the future belongs only to the machine. That is never fully true. The future belongs to the people who understand what the machine cannot be. That is the split happening right now. There are people using AI like a crutch, and there are people using AI like a weapon. The first group is becoming generic. The second group is becoming powerful. The first group says, "Make something for me." The second group says, "Help me move faster toward a vision only I can see." That difference sounds small. It is everything. Because AI can generate output. But it cannot suffer for a dream. It cannot want redemption. It cannot feel humiliation in public and decide to come back stronger. It cannot know what it means to grow up broke, to be overlooked, to lose years, to bury grief under work, to have a family depending on you, to stare at your own failures and still choose to try again. It can describe those things. It cannot become them. And that matters more than people realize. Because in a world flooded with machine-made content, the rarest thing is no longer production. It is signal, clear signal, real taste, real judgment, real conviction, real experience, real stakes. People are going to keep saying AI will replace humans. That is too simple. AI will replace lazy process. It will replace average output. It will replace people who refuse to learn, refuse to adapt, and refuse to differentiate. But it will also multiply the people who know who they are. That is the divide. A bland person with AI becomes louder blandness. A sharp person with AI becomes a machine of momentum. This is why some people are quietly winning while everyone else argues online. They are not wasting time asking whether AI is good or bad. They are asking better questions. What does this make cheaper? What does this make abundant? What becomes scarce now? What becomes valuable because everyone else ignores it? What part of my work is mechanical? What part is human? What part can be scaled? What part must stay mine? Those questions create strategy, and strategy is what separates panic from power. The people winning this era are not necessarily the smartest, they are the clearest. They know that when something becomes easy to make, the standard rises. If anyone can write, then better thinking matters more. If anyone can design, then stronger taste matters more. If anyone can produce content, then better storytelling matters more. If anyone can automate outreach, then better relationships matter more. If anyone can build, then better judgment matters more. Abundance does not kill value, it relocates it. That is the law of every technological shift. When photographs became common, composition mattered. When websites became easy, branding mattered. When social media became crowded, attention design mattered. When content exploded, trust mattered. And now, as AI makes execution easier, identity matters, voice matters, perspective matters, credibility matters, taste matters. Speed still matters too, yes. But speed without direction is just a faster way to disappear. There is another uncomfortable truth in all of this. A lot of people do not actually want to be great. They want to be safe. And AI destroys the illusion of safety because it exposes just how much of many careers was repetition disguised as value. That sounds harsh, but history is harsh. The world does not promise to preserve comfortable roles just because they once made sense. What it does offer is opportunity for the people willing to evolve. And evolution always feels violent from the inside. It feels unfair. It feels personal. It feels exhausting. It feels like learning to breathe in a room with less oxygen. That is why this moment feels so intense. It is not just technological, it is spiritual. AI is forcing people to confront a deeper question than productivity. Who are you when the basic thing you do is no longer special? That question is brutal. If your only edge was effort, now you need more. If your only edge was access, now you need more. If your only edge was information, now you definitely need more. The old advantages are collapsing. The new advantages are more human than ever. Courage, speed of adaptation, taste, story, trust, community, leadership, decision-making, resilience, obsessive curiosity. The ability to connect dots other people do not even notice. Those are not soft skills anymore. Those are survival skills. And the people who understand that are beginning to move differently. They are learning tools fast. They are building systems. They are combining human insight with machine execution. They are becoming one-person companies. They are creating brands faster than teams used to. They are making prototypes in days instead of months. They are testing, failing, adjusting, publishing, iterating, refining. They are becoming anti-fragile. That is the real opportunity of this era. Not that AI works for you, but that it forces you to become more precise, more capable, and more honest about where your value actually lives. Because the truth is, most people were not as irreplaceable as they thought. But most people are also not as powerless as they fear. Both things are true. And somewhere in the tension between those truths, a new kind of person is being forged. A person who can think with machines without becoming one. A person who can automate without numbing out. A person who can move faster without becoming hollow. A person who can use AI to amplify their mission instead of replacing their mind. That is the real challenge. Not whether you will use AI, you already are, or you will. The real challenge is whether you will remain deeply human while doing it. Because the final irony of the AI era may be this: the more machine-like the world becomes, the more valuable humanity becomes. Not performative humanity, not fake authenticity packaged for clicks, not robotic vulnerability with perfect lighting and polished captions. Real humanity, the kind that notices details, the kind that tells the truth, the kind that builds trust slowly, the kind that understands pain, the kind that can read a room, the kind that can make someone feel seen, the kind that knows when not to optimize, the kind that carries soul into work. That is hard to fake. And in a world drowning in generated sameness, hard to fake things become gold. Maybe that is why this moment matters so much. Maybe AI did not arrive to erase us. Maybe it arrived to expose us, to reveal who was sleepwalking, to reveal who was pretending, to reveal who had no point of view, to reveal who only knew how to repeat what already worked, to reveal who had built a career on friction that software can remove in seconds, and also to reveal who actually has something to say, who actually has taste, who actually has grit, who actually has the nerve to adapt when the map changes. Because every generation gets tested. Some generations are tested by war, some by collapse, some by scarcity, some by corruption, some by comfort. This generation is being tested by acceleration, by overload, by synthetic abundance, by machine intelligence, by the pressure to become more than average in a world where average is automated. That is our test. and no one gets to skip it. So the question is not whether AI is coming, it is already here. The question is not whether it will change everything, it already has. The question is what you become because of it. Do you become smaller? Do you become passive? Do you become dependent? Do you hand over your mind, your voice, your agency, your ambition little by little until convenience turns into quiet surrender? Or do you become sharper? Do you learn faster? Do you use the machine but guard the fire? Do you let this era force you into clarity? Because that is what all of this comes down to. Clarity, knowing what is yours, knowing what can be delegated, knowing what must remain sacred, knowing what game you are actually playing, knowing what kind of work you want your name attached to, knowing whether you are building a life or just generating output. The people who survive this era will not all be geniuses, but they will know themselves. They will know that tools change, markets change, platforms change, algorithms change, and industries change. But the need for courage never changes. The need for judgment never changes. The need for meaning never changes. The need for people to trust someone real never changes. And maybe that is the hidden gift in all of this chaos. AI is forcing a separation between those who were only producing and those who were truly creating, between those who borrowed identity from a job title and those who carry identity within themselves, between those who want comfort and those who want mastery. So no, the story of AI is not just about machines getting smarter. It is about humans being cornered into a decision to drift or to evolve, to imitate or to lead, to numb themselves with convenience, or to sharpen themselves through adaptation. And for some people, that decision will become the defining battle of their lives. Years from now, they will look back on this era and realize the most important thing AI ever generated was not text, images, code, or video. It generated pressure. Pressure that revealed character. Pressure that exposed weakness. Pressure that forced reinvention. Pressure that made ordinary people ask extraordinary questions. Who am I? What am I building? What is real value? What can never be automated? What part of me still matters when the machine can do almost everything else? The people who answer those questions honestly will not disappear. They will rise. Maybe not easily, maybe not instantly, maybe not without fear, but they will rise. Because history does not belong to the most comfortable people. It belongs to the ones who can meet a new world without flinching. And maybe that is what this moment has been asking all along. Not whether we can build smarter machines, but whether smarter machines can force us to become wiser humans. That is the real story. That is the viral story. That is the human story. And it is only just beginning.